I didn't know there was stuff in the dryer. How long's it been there? 3 years. I didn't know. You know. Welcome back, my friend. Great to see you. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy, and I'm all about helping you increase your level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, it'd be great if you'd consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. You'll never miss another video, but most importantly, you'll join this amazing community. Part 2 of our 2-part video series on neurodiverse relationships featuring my neurotypical wife, Renee. In this video, we're going to cover all your questions or your community questions on communication and also parenting an extended family. All right, so are you ready to talk about communication?
Yes.
Communication. Many people ask about this topic, so let's do it. Now, for starters, we know that miscommunication or kind of a disconnect of communication is a big issue for autistic people. Okay, so how do you, as a neurotypical person, how do you see our different communication styles, and what have you found are the best ways for nurturing good communication?
So I think the key couple of things is that at the end of a conversation, one of us will repeat back what the plan is or what the decision was, or check that the other person has understood what you were trying to convey. So I think that's one of the major key factors. The other thing would be if I see your body language reacting in a way that it's not expected to what I've just said, then I would repeat what I said in a different way, or say, did you not get what I said, or does that not make sense? Or so that checking in and then the coming back and reiterating what's been said. And then I think it's that knowing that you and I are both going to be honest with each other.
Because I think we don't need to dissect the challenges I have with communication as an autistic person. It's more about how we can navigate that. So you obviously, but you're aware though that you're aware of my particular challenges.
Definitely.
And what would you say are my particular challenges with us or with communication?
So I reckon you have a tendency to catastrophize.
Yep.
So you'll hear me say one thing and you'll only focus on the negative part of that conversation, or you'll pull out something and interpret it in a negative way and then take it as a personal attack, or take it on a completely different path to what I had anticipated the conversation would be. So I think it's knowing that you do that, and then either trying not to use negative language in that conversation, or if I have to use it, then making sure I check in that you understood what I was trying to convey. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people that can resonate with the idea that we catastrophize things, and it's not something we want to do for fun. But I agree, it can be really interesting. Okay, so decision making and our kind of way of life with our family. What's some insights you can provide into the miscommunication that we may experience? That can happen a lot, can't it, with family stuff and different things, the miscommunication. What's some insights that you...
So I reckon with decision making, the key thing that I've learned, I reckon, in the last 12 months is that knowing when things are getting to your cognitive capacity where you actually can't make a decision about something because there's too many factors, or it's impacting on your special interest or your need. And usually in those situations, I'll say, don't worry about it, I'll sort it out, and I'll take on that decision making, and I'll keep you in the loop and tell you what I've done. But instead of burdening you with extra decisions when I can already see you're struggling, I'll just take that off you and involve you in it in a different way without having all the little details. So I reckon the best example is all of our son's therapists, when they communicate how his session went. We talked about, I said, do you want me to send you the reports? And you're like, no way. And I could see that was overwhelming, the thought of reading through pages of what they had recommended. And so I just tell you the key highlights of what he's done well and what he needs to work on.
Executive summary.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to minimize this. There's a massive amount of people that really want to know about how you can improve communication in these neurodiverse relationships. Like, this is super important to people. So I guess the type of strategies we've learned, how do we navigate communication? Some people have said, how do we navigate the double empathy problem, which is essentially, it's not so much just one person's fault, it's that we both are struggling to understand each other's emotions or needs or feelings. Like, it's not my fault, it's not your fault, it's both of us are struggling. So well, what are the kind of things you can suggest or help people with strategies for communicating with an autistic partner?
So I reckon it's about clear and concise communication. So not too wordy and straight to the point.
Yep.
I think they're the key things, and also being honest. So just get to the point and stop fluffing around and expecting that you're going to read between the lines in the communication.
What about the idea that sometimes you'll, tell stories about work and then I might instinctually try to fix the problem or provide a solution or give an opinion or a piece, and that affects you because you didn't want that. You just wanted to say your story. When that doesn't occur to me in the time. So you obviously, we know you experience that, but what have you come up with, like strategies or ways or? So
I would say, Orion, I just want to tell you and I want to vent. I don't want a solution to this problem. And then I just rant about my situation. And if I wanted a solution and I didn't want you just to listen to the rant, then I would say, I really want your help to decide what to do with blah, and then talk about it.
That's a really critical strategy that you can use. You tell the autistic partner what you actually want out of this conversation. Sounds ridiculous, but it isn't. And I think it's a really good idea because and you say it at the start so they're ready to go. Because, they're wasting a lot of energy, like myself, on solutions.
Yeah.
Issues.
And then the other thing would be making sure it's the right time. Like, can I chat to you about this, or is it not a good time? And then we do it when the kids weren't there. So that's a really common thing for us, is it's impossible to have a conversation with either of our boys around. And so it's often once they're both asleep that we talk about stuff.
And the last one on communication is, how do you communicate with each other in times when it's not so easy, probably for me, to be communicating, or the effects that would have on you trying to communicate with me when you know it's...
So I reckon our strategy is, say if I'm at work and I know you've had a really rough start to the morning, I'll just text you because I know that you hate talking on the phone.
Well, it's not so much about hate talking to you on the phone. It's I hate the small talk or the what's the point of this call? Yeah.
So I might just write you a text or, I don't know, check in with you later with a text. And then if there is going to be a conversation, it starts to head down the small talk path and I can tell by your tone that you're starting to get annoyed, then I'll just say, all right, see you later. But then some people would interpret that as being rude, as just ending the conversation directly. But I think it's that understanding that no small talk.
Well, that's a relatively new strategy that you've used. And it actually it's really helpful, because in the past you'd almost feel obliged to just be on the phone with your partner and just have silence or weird things, and it's not easy for me. So I think I really appreciate that. We talk about what we need to talk about. We might ask each other a couple of quick small talk, like how's your day going, but then that's that. It's like okay, out kind of thing. Parenting and family is another big thing people wanted to talk about. So parenting as a neurodiverse couple, what's our biggest challenges been parenting as a neurotypical and autistic person, and how have we overcome those parenting challenges?
I reckon the hardest thing is when Conan is dysregulated and about to melt down, and his behaviour is a trigger for you. And so it's like this spiral, and then Hugo comes in and he's loud, and that just puts fire onto the situation. So I think that's the trickiest part, and it's about... Actually, there's two of us. So Conan, let's go upstairs, or Hugo, let's go outside, and Conan, go play on the iPad. So it's about giving people time and space to come down from their dysregulated state. Yeah,
that's probably one of the biggest challenges, is if you have an autistic partner and you've got an autistic child, one of the biggest parenting challenges isn't so much about parenting philosophies. It's more about the idea that you can't control when either autistic person can be triggered or go into a meltdown or use echolalia or whatever to regulate or soothe, and that will trigger the other person. And then you feel like I'm the only parent left in the room, and that's it's horrible. And for an autistic person, what's horrible about it too is I've got to realize then I need to mask and suppress for this, but then obviously that builds up to a point where you can't anymore. So it's a big issue. All right, could you share how you guys balance needs and preferences if they conflict with each other? Okay, so how do we work out individual needs and preferences when they conflict? And also, do we run into situations where we feel like one person has to compromise more than the other? How do you make sure both of you get your needs met while still being considerate of one another? So compromise. Clearly, in my mind, I would say that you're the only real person that really compromises the most or ever. So therefore, I'm kind of like, that's why I always feel guilty about it. But
I don't agree at all.
Okay.
So I think think we have got better at this.
So how do we make sure, how have we got better at making sure we can kind of get conflicting needs and still make them happen?
So I think the best example is when one of the kids is sick and we've both got work arrangements the following day.
Yeah.
And so in the past, you would have just compromised and taken the lion's share of that. But the reality is that we've worked out that doesn't work, because then you don't get time in your special interests. And so then it's about us working together of who's got what on when and how can we work around it so we both share that responsibility.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even call it a special interest anymore. I'd call it pretty much full-blown work.
Yeah,
that's true. But exactly. But I also say my capacity is way lower since we had a second child to look after kids, more than one, If I can look after one, no worries. More than one, no. And probably just the 3-year-old, not for long. He's intense.
So I think that's where if Hugo's sick or if they're both off, then I would take the day off work.
Yeah. If you have situations which hinder you to do something basic that needs to be done, like housework, you're going to the shops, that kind of stuff, how do you handle the knowledge that you have to take over from me, and how do you handle it? So this is coming from someone who says, I'm the autistic one in the household. I feel extremely ashamed and tend to question myself if I can't do it, even though my partner is really supportive and never accuses me. I'd also like to know your wife's feelings in situations like that. Okay, so and I feel ashamed too in that situation. Like so let's just talk about how you feel about it. So we're talking about situations, basic needs, basic family stuff where I'm basically doing nothing all day, but I couldn't even get milk and bread from the shops, and how you've had to work all day and go to the shops after work. And that sounds really stupid. And a lot of people probably go, what a baby. What a loser. And I do these things for the most part, but it's going to happen from time to time. And I feel ashamed as well, just like, this comment. So what's your take on that particular situation?
So I reckon it's about flipping your expectations, about flipping what you think the person is capable of doing at that particular time. So in the past, I would have got grumpy and been like, well, you've been doing nothing, or resented the situation. But then I've got to know you better and your demands better. And so if I can see that you're not up to doing any of those things, then I'll absolutely support you and just do them. I mean, We're in a relationship, we support each other. So I think it's about flipping your mindset of what you expect, depending on what's happening that day, what roadblocks have happened, all of the different contributing factors.
Well, the one thing that I'll say before we move on is I do try though. If I know it's one of those days where I can't leave the house, I just don't want to leave the house. Sometimes I try, like last week, I went into town here where we live just because I know we needed some bread, and I couldn't find a parking space. I went around the block one more time, couldn't find a space, and then 2 cars pulled out at the same time, and it discombobulated me, and I kind of just looped out. I literally drove home, so I achieved nothing, and I felt really bad and horrible and sad and yuck. It's like just because 2 cars came out at once and stuff. Anyway, so but I tried. I failed, but I tried. You've both got to give and take and have a go. It's not just about my wife. I've got to work on it too. Okay, here we are, catastrophizing once again. People want to know about this. So communication, family. I'd love to hear both of your ideas on dealing with catastrophizing, and as an autistic person, struggling with accidentally jumping to the worst possible conclusion. And what's funny is they've written, i.e., that the relationship is irreversibly damaged whenever there is a disagreement. I'd love to know your advice on how I can express this worry to my neurotypical partner at the time without making things worse. I think for me, catastrophizing is linked firstly with struggling to see things from their perspective, and also linked to my extreme perfectionism. Autistic people, that's very relatable, and I can totally relate to that. And every time we have an actual argument or some sort of actual disagreement, I legitimately think you're going to divorce me or leave me or something, right? Don't I? I catastrophize it, and it's not something I can take away. It just it's the life of abandonment and rejection by the world. You can't get past it. So what's your take on the idea of accidentally jumping to the worst possible conclusion? Because I can't really have a take on it. It's part of how I am. But what's your take on how you can actually experience it and maybe not take it personally? Or
so I think it's about knowing that that's what you've got a propensity to do. Yeah. And then when it happens, to say, just hold on a second, that's not what's going to happen. And actually using examples or resetting what's happening at the time, saying, Orion, that's not the case. Think about it. Look at all these logical things about this that goes against what you're saying. Or with your example that you've said around, you're just going to leave me. Like sometimes you'll say that you'll have dreams about me divorcing you and leaving you. And then it's just me providing you reassurance that that's not the case and that you've just misinterpreted the conversation or misinterpreted what happened. And so I think it's about being understanding and knowing that that's what the person is going to do with the situation. And then maybe later when you're not in that vulnerable state when you're having an argument, that you say to each other how you actually feel. Like you say to me, when we argue like this, I feel like you're going to leave me. And then we talk about it when it's not in this supercharged moment and reassure each other.
Yeah. All right. This is interesting. This is from an autistic husband looking for tips for his wife. So what are some things you can do to lessen the strain or the tension from different needs in a relationship? And how do you recognize when Orion may need extra or less attention to stabilize or regulate himself? So tips for a neurotypical wife on overcoming that strain or tension of different needs, because you have this with me and our son. So it's a tricky situation. I don't care who you are. You'd have to look at that and go, wow, that's tough.
I think it just goes back to getting to know what your rumblings are of when you're starting to become overwhelmed or you're getting to your level of capacity to deal with the situation. So the tips for the wives watching us.
So you've identified them.
Yeah.
As a whole, then you physically identify them in the moment, manifesting. Okay, so from then, the tips to help calm that situation down, I guess they're the kind of tips they're looking for.
But just talk about it. Yeah. So say, like, Orion, I notice when you're agitated, you do this with your hair. So I just say, Orion, you're doing the thing with your hair. What's up? Or like, are you okay? Or do you want to just stop talking about it?
Do you need more time with me, less time with me, or this kind of thing? Yeah.
So I think it's just about being honest and open and calling out when you notice something. And if it's a repetitive thing and you notice it's a repetitive thing that happens before someone melts down, then use that as your opportunity to try to circuit break the situation and say, do you need some time alone? Or do you want me to leave the room? Or whatever it is.
More practical stuff. There's a diagnosis on one side, not on the other. How do we split chores? How do we split family stuff? And the first thing I'd say is, I try to do my bit and help, but even then you still do way more than me, and it's ridiculous because you work more than me and you do more chores than me. But how do we navigate that? How do we split that? I think most of the time it's you just in a more of a direct way that I understand, say, could you do this or do that? Or,
definitely. So I think
you don't assume or hope.
If it's washing or whatever, I'm like, can you take the washing out of the dryer? Or like it'll be a direct instruction that can't be misinterpreted because it's so straight down the line.
And we split chores by me never thinking that's a bad thing. Like if there's chores to be done, I'll do them, and if I'm asked to do them, I'll do them. It's more of an idea of I'm open to doing them, but just sometimes it's not that I'm lazy or don't want to do them. That's not my job. It's more that it's not even in my in my awareness, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was stuff in the dryer. How long's it been there? 3 years. I didn't know. Yeah.
But it's all about expectations, right? Like I don't expect you, because I know that you don't see the world the same way that I do, to know that thing has to be done. So then it's my responsibility to tell you to do it if you're not going to see. And it's no point me getting frustrated at you because I haven't communicated with you.
And that's another question. How do you deal with our different points of view, or our different view of the world, or our different understanding? How do you...
That's one of the things I love about you.
So first explain why you love it, or what you love about that, and then explain how you kind of deal with it, because it might not always work.
So most of the time, I love hearing different opinions and different ways about thinking about things, because it challenges me mentally and cognitively as well. And I think that's amazing to be challenged about what you're thinking and feeling. And pretty much all the time, that's how I feel. There's going to be sometimes I'm like, I just don't agree with you and I think that idea is stupid. But
how do you manage that?
But that's my job to then later reflect on it and say, actually, there's something I can learn from this.
Or you can't learn anything, but it's still... okay to
have a different opinion. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing, isn't it? The different points of view, because you obviously have a more of a well-rounded logical emotional, where I'm probably more logical, so I can look at things black and white, absolute, scientific, bang bang bang. So it's a really interesting different view. All right, this is a good one. How do you think people should navigate the family members of the neurotypical side, obviously specifically, and family gatherings, and even the idea of disclosing? Because we have a son and you've got me. So you've got a son and me and a neurotypical family, or at least, a wider family, whether it's them, gatherings, disclosure. How have you found that, and how do you think people should navigate that? Because it can be hard, right?
Well, definitely, but I think our approach has always been to be honest and upfront.
Yeah.
And then we can actually raise more awareness about neurodivergence if we're honest and upfront. And so when people are like, see Conan getting dysregulated, we can say, okay, he needs some space, stop asking him so many questions, he's dysregulated because of X, Y, Z. And we use it as a way to educate people more. So the next time when we hang out with him and he does the same thing, there's more understanding. So I don't know, we flip it around in some kind of positive opportunity. And I mean, if people can't accept that, don't understand it, then there's just more time to talk about neurodivergence more with them till they get to the point where they can.
But we navigate it too by lessening the time.
Oh, definitely. The expectation. Or
we'll come for lunch, but we're not staying pretty much after that, right? And if we stay for 3 hours, that's amazing. But, once lunch is done, if we need to go, we need to go kind of thing.
Yeah. And we when we see any kind of grumblings in Conan or yourself, we don't push things further. So like when we're on the beach on the weekend and Conan started to get dysregulated by the feeling of the sand and that sensory overload. Yeah. And we said, but buddy, do you need to go home? And he was like, yes. And so he recognised that we paused whatever we were doing, even though we could have stayed there for hours longer. Yeah. But if we had have stayed there, he would have just become so dysregulated and melted down, and then the whole experience would have been totally changed versus just going home because we recognised that he was uncomfortable. Yeah,
here's an idea. How about not having the birthday cake 7 hours after the bloody party? I mean, it's like, seriously, what's with the delay? Like, we're going to wait 7 hours for you to bring your precious cake out and sing your well done. Talking about coping strategies. So in this situation, so the family might go to you, so let's say me, I'm in the corner being really quiet and I look brooding and aggressive, whatever, and they're like, why is he acting like such a jerk or something? Like these kind of, I guess, these misconceptions, there might be chaos, there might be lots of questions, the family might bombard, there might be, odd triggers, right? Disengaging, a need for strategies and tools that might not be available or frowned upon, or, Conan doesn't even use them sometimes because he's embarrassed to use them in front of people because of how they react. So do you have any kind of strategies or coping strategies to help in these situations? Because have you've experienced this much, or where family members or friends might say things about Conan or me where they're just going, what a douchebag, or what's with him, or what's his deal, and it's hard to navigate.
So usually, like, we talk about why you're behaving in a certain way, or like use it as a time to talk about being autistic.
Because it takes me a long time to warm up in certain situations. It's very non-speaking.
And then sometimes you need to be really direct. And when Conan's doing a behaviour that's repetitive and they're like, why is he doing that? And I'm like, he's autistic and he's being autistic. And this is who he is.
There's actually no textbook answer.
So sometimes it's just saying it straight out, and then people then understand that's what to expect.
So for neurodiverse relationships, autistic, non-autistic, how do you view the best way to cultivate a successful relationship in this setting? I mean, is it just give up on life and
No, it's open, honest understanding and communication. That's all it is. So you need to understand what the other person needs. You need to understand how they prefer to be communicated with, how you need to adjust in certain situations, and need to understand their rumblings or certain behaviours that develop when they're starting to feel overwhelmed. And then you just have to be honest when the whole day is going to crap and you've had enough and you need time, or you're sick of everything, then you just need to say that. And stop beating around the bush. If something's not working, not right, whatever, just be honest with each other.
100%. Well done. Thank you. Thanks for coming back to your own house again in part 2.
No problems.
I'm sure everyone will thank you again on the comments and this stuff, but I appreciate it. If you have any other ideas or any other questions, just let us know. You can answer some in the comments, right?
Sure.
You've been on YouTube before? I hope the experiences from my wife and I in a neurodiverse relationship have helped you in some way. If you haven't checked out part 1, we talk all about relationships. Please go and check it out. Share this video with your family and friends so it reaches more people. I want to thank you so much for your support, and thank you to my amazing wife, Renee, for being on the channel. Until my next video, thanks so much for watching. We'll talk soon.